Our star today is the big toe with onychogryphosis, which had an unfortunate encounter with the sofa. I think you already suspect what kind of content awaits you, so I suggest you get comfortable. All in all, this is how it looks from the outside, and at first glance it just looks like onychogryphosis. We need to clean it up, put it in order, and it seems like everything will be fine. But obviously the nail moves when pressed, and it's not clear at all what's going on inside. The main dramatic moment is already behind us, so overall it feels comfortable now, so let's try to do the treatment. We'll start with a cleansing antibacterial foam. I have one from Domix. I always use this product at the beginning of a pedicure. By the way, it's a great way to make sure the client doesn't worry that their feet might smell unpleasant after a workday. But I'll tell you a secret, for us, pedicurists and foot care specialists, it's absolutely not disgusting, it's completely normal. Next, I'll take the podiatry nippers from Nippon Nippers. I have the NP04 model. The 04s are probably the most popular pedicure nippers. I even have these at home, and I usually trim my nails with them. It's a convenient and compact model. With these nippers, I'm just trimming the nails on the other toes for now. But with a carbide bit and an electric file, I will be working on the nail plate. When I get a client whose nails are obviously very thick and yellowed, I always start by thinning the nail plate so I can work on it. So I can work with the nippers and get a clearer sense of what I'm dealing with next. I trimmed the length a bit with nippers, and then I use a curette to probe further. I tried to understand what actions need to be taken. We decided to use a nail plate softener. This is needed to make the nail more pliable. But even at this stage, I look in there with the curette and realize that it's actually moving around a lot. I intentionally left more footage so that those technicians who are just starting out in podology can understand better. And if they suddenly encounter a situation like this, when, as they used to say, the nail is asking for porridge, although that was usually said about shoes, meaning the sole is coming off, in this case our nail is like the sole. And it's barely holding on to anything. Until the very end, it felt to me like it was still attached somewhere under the cuticle, and maybe I wouldn't have to remove the whole thing. But there was another detail. My model was very afraid that it might be uncomfortable or unpleasant, so we decided to remove the nail plate in small pieces, little by little, in short passes. I wanted to work so she wouldn't be scared and would realize podology isn't frightening. Also, here's a quick life hack. If your client is afraid or asks whether you'll use anesthesia or something like that, I recommend simply explaining every single action you're taking. So, for example, I just picked up a pusher. It's used to gently push back your cuticle. Right now I'm just separating the skin there, detaching it from the nail and so on. You can explain everything you're doing. For example, I used alcohol to dry the skin because your hands are moist. This makes the work more comfortable and so on. I got distracted briefly, but now we're back to using the straight edge nippers. Here I'm trying to remove a slightly curled nail wall, and I'm also continuing to check how loose the nail is. Actually, after editing and watching this video, I realized just how meticulous our work really is. Because when you do this every day, it seems like it's all so easy and simple, like we're just trimming nails. We remove some dry skin and don't really do anything particularly interesting. But in those moments when you start to look closely, you realize just how many little details there are. I added pedicure talc, and using a pedicure bit with a red band, decided to check how things were in the cuticle area. I gently worked on it, which helped distract my model a little. By that point, she was already quite relaxed. And here I'm showing you that the nail is barely attached. It's barely attached to the cuticle on one side, and there's nothing holding it on the other. You could air it out, but it definitely needs to be removed. You should never leave a nail like this, although in my experience I've seen cases where surgeons, for example, actually sewed such nails back on. Right by the straps with little knots. I've even had people send me things like that in my DMs. It's pretty funny, but of course we're not going to do anything like that. I don't see any point in keeping this nail plate, especially since it will definitely get damp underneath. Moisture will collect under it. And that's the main reason why we always clean up a nail that has separated. Besides the unpleasant aesthetic aspect, well, it just doesn't look nice, right? But actually the main problem is that it will be damp there. And of course that's a favorable environment for bacteria to multiply. And now, here's the climax that probably everyone watching this video has been waiting for. The nail is barely holding on, and we're going to carefully remove it. I know some people pull it out with tweezers. I usually prefer to gently and slowly trim it with clippers, because pulling or tugging here would at the very least be uncomfortable for the client. And our goal is for clients to know and understand that podiatric care is a safe, gentle, and careful service. There should never be any discomfort here. A podologist will always help. A podologist will always respond and do everything possible to make sure you are as comfortable as possible. And here is the very moment when the nail is not holding on to anything except for a tiny piece of cuticle. We gently detach it, and now we can take a look inside. Let's take a closer look at what's inside. This is what an onychographotic nail looks like. It thickens and grows upward and in thickness instead of forward as it should. And this is what the nail bed looks like, left completely bare. I'm treating it with a renovator from Domex. I gently dab it on. And with the help of a curette, I try to remove everything possible. Our goal is to dry out the nail bed. It shouldn't be moist here. And of course now we'll wait for the nail to start growing back. I want to say right away that this process is not quick at all. And you shouldn't think that in a month or two this nail will grow back and everything will be as it was before. Usually the regrowth of the nail plate can take about 6 months, and even that depends on age. Of course it's faster in children. For older people this will take longer, but the nail will definitely grow back. And the process of regrowth should also be supervised by a podiatrist, because there is always a chance that the first parts of the nail plate that start to grow will be quite thin. They can curl, twist, or even tuck inward into the nail folds. And most likely, some additional interim cleanups will be needed here. For now, that's the situation. Be careful when dealing with sofas.